Hi again. So, in this lecture, we're going to see the BIOS faults. So, the first fault is the computer won't start. So, even if you press the power button, but the computer won't start, this failure is one among the BIOS failure. Of course, after checking the power for the computer, for example, if you have a laptop, you should check the adapter. If you find that the adapter is good, so the BIOS can be the first cause of this failure. The second failure is the black screen. When the laptop is on, but the screen still black, no data in the screen, means the probable cause of the failure is the basic input-output system, the BIOS. You should reprogram it. So of course, for the black screen, there is many reasons. For example, problem in the RAMs, in the random access memory. The problem can be also in the graphic card. But if you check the random access memory and all things in the computer seems to be good, then the problem is in the BIOS. You should flash the BIOS using a new program. The third fault is the BIOS errors. When you get a lot of errors while you start your computer, means you have a failed BIOS. The fourth fault of the BIOS is the computer won't start and the power leads or the caps locks lead blank. When you have the power lead blank or the caps lock lead blank, means you have probably a failed BIOS. Okay? The next fault is the dead motherboard. If you have a dead motherboard, when you press the power switch or the power button, but you didn't get any response, no light, no indication in the computer, means the probable cause of failure is the BIOS. You should reprogram your BIOS. Of course, you should first check your adapter. If you have a laptop, you should always check your adapter, especially if you don't install the battery. Okay? When you have a good adapter or a good battery and the computer won't start up, means the problem is in the BIOS. You should reprogram it. Of course, I will show you in the next lectures how to program the BIOS step by step. Okay? The next failure of the BIOS is no data in the computer screen. This failure is the same failure as the black screen, but sometimes you can get a black screen or a white screen, okay, or even a blue screen, etc. When you get this kind of screens with no data in it, the BIOS probably is the cause of this failure. So you should reprogram the BIOS. And of course, in the next lectures, I will show you how to reprogram the BIOS and how to back up the software in the BIOS first. Because always you should make a backup of your BIOS before reprogramming it, because you can need this backup again. Okay? So the next failure of the BIOS is beeps. When you hear a lot of beeps, maybe 2, 3, 4, or even 5, when you start the computer, maybe the problem can be in the BIOS. But first, you should check the RAM, the random access memory slot. So if you find that the random access memory slot is installed correctly, okay, and you should check also the hard disk drive and also the CMOS battery, all connectors in the motherboard. And you should check that the power is good in the whole motherboard. And if you check all this component, the RAM, the HDD, hard disk drive, the CMOS battery, all connectors, the power is good in the motherboard, and the failure still persists, I mean always the beeps still persist when you start up your computer, means you have the problem in your BIOS. You should flash your BIOS. The next failure is when you check all voltages in the motherboard, you find that all voltages are present. You find the 19 volt, you find the 3 volt and 5 volt. Computer is on, all voltages are present. The 5 volt for the USB connector, the 3 volt are present in the pin number 8 of the BIOS. You find all voltages, but the computer still not on the screen, still black screen or white screen. This is a good sign that you have the problem in the BIOS. You should remove your BIOS and flash it or reprogram it using the program, and then the computer will work fine. So this is the most important and the most BIOS failure that you will get during repairing. If you get one of this failure that we discussed, you should reprogram the BIOS. But the first thing to do is to back up the BIOS. So we will see all this in the next lectures.